fucking crying.
Monkey D. Goofy. D. Goofy. Mr. Slobber this bad guy.
Why would they do that, bro?
Bro, because it's getting you ready, don't Yeah! No! Bravo. Bravo. Oh, man. Woo! On a day like today, it's very difficult to put into words just how great it is to get some good ass movies, boy. What is good, people? It is your boy T-Rav. I am here with the Northman movie review. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Alright? I won't say it again. I don't do non-spoiler reviews. I don't do it. But if you don't care about that, hey, check out the video. That's fine with me too. But like, subscribe, all that. Man, and you know, when I saw the trailer at first, I knew. I literally started sweating buckets. Because when you combine Vikings, Norse mythology, and all the greasiness and all the crud that you're gonna get in that time period when you back right before the year 900, you already know what time it is, okay? And what we were in store for. But never did I imagine that we were gonna get an instant classic, people. I'm putting it down right now, okay? Yeah, you know, some people may say, T-Rav, I think you're jumping the gun. T-Rav, you've only seen it once so far. How can you say that? I could say that because of a couple of things, people. All right, number one, the director came out the gate firing. Robert Eggers, I see you. I see you, fam. Because the camera shots, dog, the way he was moving in and out of scenes, the transitions, like the way he was blending the mystical stuff with the regular camera shots, and you don't know really which is which, and we're just kind of seamlessly going in and out of those things, the way he's panning in and out, like, I can't speak enough on all that. I really can't. Like, the man really did impress me with the camera work and all of that, because it really did stand out. Like, it's just excellent cinematography. It's excellent cinematography. But not only that, because you can have movies like that, and that's all well and dandy. That's great. But when you got niggas that come to play when it comes to this acting, dog, Alexander Skarsgård, your MC, all right, he's the man. He's the Northman that you're gonna be following for almost the whole movie. And dude, the man, to say he's on a mission and to say that the themes in this movie don't hit home, like, you would be lying. Like, if anybody put themselves in his shoes, like, you would probably try and go just as hard as he goes. But I gotta give the man credit. Like, hey, he captured it. He captured it better than anybody I've seen in a long time. A long time. Like, I can go to a couple people in the Vikings show. I can go to a couple of different things and projects, but on the big screen to really capture some Viking shit, this is it. This is it. This is what you need to go to. I should have known. I should have. Because when you also got Willem Dafoe playing the fool, Eimer the fool, he's out here wilding out when the king gets back in the middle of the court in front of everybody. Who whips his cock out and slaps it and insults his wife. Oh my God, shit is hilarious. I know that sounds crazy out of context, but it's true. You gotta see it to know what I'm talking about. All right, so you also got Nicole Kidman. I mean, like, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. But so we start out the movie and we're following this little young prince. You know, he must be like 10 years old, something like that. And then he gets all excited because he sees all the ships coming back to their kingdom. And they have a modest-sized kingdom. It's like, you know, it's like one coastal town type area, you know what I'm saying? He's just got one castle to his name and all that stuff like that. But it seems like the tribe is pretty big, you know, a sizable amount. And, you know, a lot of ships are coming back. So clearly it's a good-sized little kingdom, stuff like that. So he runs into his mother's room while she's getting dressed, like, because he didn't knock or nothing like that. And then she, like, finishes getting dressed. He didn't really see anything, but she finishes getting dressed right quick. And then she's like, what the hell did I tell you about coming in the door? And she's about to haul off and smack the fuck out this nigga. But you can see, like, he didn't mean nothing by it. And he's very innocent. And you'll come to see how that's going to change. But then she kind of looks and she has this crazy look on her face. And it's like, there's reasons why. But so Ethan Hawke is the person that plays this nigga's father, and he comes in like a badass, obviously. And he comes back with his brother and their whole army and stuff like that. And it seems like they had a successful raid. They brought slaves back, all this other stuff. Normal, Viking behavior, Slavic villages type shit. Like that's normal par for the course, right? But so obviously he's been gone at least for a whole season or something like that, because I think the wife mentioned something like that. But obviously he's been hurt pretty bad, and then he's deciding he wants to go ahead and start the transition of power toward his son. Not anything official yet, but I guess like kind of having his coming of age ceremony. So they go off and they're about to go do this whole spirit quest thing. And this is what I love about this movie, right? Because it's almost like a Native American ceremony that they kind of go through. How accurate all this stuff is, I'm not really sure. I can't exactly speak on that too much. From what I've heard, is being said that it's like one of the more accurate Viking Norse stories that's ever been out like that. But hey, that could all be wrong. Who knows? But they go and do the ceremony, and then they're acting like wolves and things like that. It's really wild because they're having to basically act like beasts and things like that. And him and his father, like, having to drink this concoction. I'm sure it's like some drugs that give him a hallucinogenic effect, things like that. And then it's like a whole smoke room that's going on, and Willem Dafoe's in there, and he's all of a sudden acting like a priest and things like that. So it's interesting, like, number one, the role that he plays, because in public he's like the fool that gets to just, talk all the shit he wants and act crazy in front of everybody. But here in the background, he's holding like extremely important religious ceremonies. Like, what's that all about? I think that's actually pretty sick. And then you got a dude going, oh, no, in the background. So it sounds crazy. But then, like, the drugs really start kicking in, and then he has a son place his hand on his wound and things like that, and then you can see his heart, but then you see the arteries going up, and then it turns into the roots of this tree, and then you basically get to see all of their ancestors leading up to the little boy and what he will eventually become as like the leader of the house or whatever, right? But it's interesting because you're not really sure like where exactly it starts. It almost seems like it's starting from, like, number one, the tree resembles that of the Yggdrasil and all that, but who knows what they come from or what they believe they come from. But they're definitely their lineage is long, let's just put it like that. So they go through what seems like a multiple day spirit quest type shit. They come out, and it seems like everything's all good, and literally as soon as they walk out of the tents and things like that, they walk out into the open area to go get their horses, this nigga Ethan Hawke gets lit up by like 4 or 5 arrows, and then he gets shot in the neck. And it's fucking crazy because like it happens out of nowhere. So obviously someone got the jump on him, and an ambush was set up, and that was successful. So the little boy runs off and goes and takes cover, but he stays and watches to witness what happens. And obviously, who knew? The motherfucking uncle rolls up, and you could tell when he first came back that like he had some type of envy towards the king and all that, because number one, the wife had a question when the banquet was being held, like when they first came back and all that. Fjolnir wasn't there, and then the wife makes a comment asking like, will your brother not grace us with his presence? Red flag number one. Number two, when he did roll up in there and stuff with, like, I guess, gifts for the king, and while everyone else was paying, like, mega homage to the king, he comes up and he's, like, rather dismissive of the king and stuff like that, right? And then, like, Willem Dafoe makes a crazy ass comment about how the king's wife is over here getting moist and wants to offer this nigga a drink before anyone else. You should be watching your wife, king. And then and then Fjolnir gets pissed. He's like, "You shut your goddamn mouth! How dare you insult your lord?" You know, so he's trying to deflect. But honestly, that nigga may be the fool, but he ain't a fool on that one, okay? Because he called that shit from jump. And honestly, if you didn't pick that up, I don't know what you was watching. I literally called it in the trailer, people. If you watch my trailer reaction, you know, and then you wouldn't be surprised. But he rose up, and then he's like, "You should have known this was coming, yada, yada." And he was like, "Bro, I can't believe that you're doing this. Like, why would you do this?" And he was like, "I wish you would have shown just a hint of that compassion to a bastard like me all this time before." And then he hauls off and cuts his head off. And then they go and start chasing the boy. And then the boy runs off, and he actually is able to get away because he's pretty adept at hiding and stuff like that. So clearly he's not completely a scrub at this point, but he doesn't have any skill to speak of. And one dude even does get his hands on him and tackles him and things like that. But when he's on top of him, he rolls over and he cuts his fucking nose off. So, hey, props to him on that. But he does get off in the rowboat and he escapes. It rows out into the open fucking ocean with the raging storm going on. And then he starts chanting, "I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fjolnir." So it's like, my goodness. Like, it's a lot to put on a little boy. And obviously, he ready for the long game because we go on a time skip. And it's like, at least, it has to be like 15 years past. 15 years past. Because now when you see him, he is fucking dieseled. I mean, my goodness. Like, he giving Henry Cavill a run for his money. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's crazy. But right now, he's a part of another Viking tribe that worships Fenrir, obviously the very famous wolf in the mythology. And one of the first scenes we see with them is they have this weird werewolf seance type thing where they're having to channel their inner beasts, and it's almost like they're dancing around the fire and things like that, and they literally have wolf skins on and all that. But you know, they start blending the different mythology stuff in and out, and it's like, oh, what's going on? Is this real? Is this not? I don't really know what's going on, but they go on a raid of some village, some random obscure village, and then he just starts going ham, dog. Like, as soon as he hops off the boat, this nigga like starts climbing the wall, literally with an axe, and just gripping the log and climbing up the fucking wall as niggas is spearing him and things like that. So he gets over the wall, starts taking niggas out, hops off of the wall into the fortress with all types of madness going on, cuts a nigga down with the axe in midair, and then he just goes through and starts Michael Myers walking, son. And when niggas come around the corner, bang, bang, oh, he is deading niggas. And I mean deading niggas. Like, when I'm saying this nigga's hitting like a fucking Mack truck, this shit is crazy. To demonstrate that, what he goes on to do, like, 30 seconds later as he's walking through this town, and shout out to the camera shots again, because it's one long shot, and you're just following this nigga. You're following this nigga this whole time, and this shit is crazy, dog. Just excellent camera work. But to demonstrate just how fucking strong this nigga is, someone gets to jump on him, he turns around, and he smacks him one time with the axe in the shield. It doesn't do much, but then they put the shield up and brace, and this nigga kicks the fucking shield through. He kicks that bitch clean down the middle, kicks that nigga in his face to death. One shot. Like, I've never seen that. I've never seen that, dog. Like, I don't... Woo! Woo! Like... Ugh. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Like, the man is a warrior to the 10th degree. Because you saw in the trailer how, like... and I even forgot to mention how, like, before they even stormed the fortress, they kind of see him out in the brush and stuff like that, and then someone chucks a spear, he catches that hole in midair, and then chucks that bitch back. One shot. Like, so the raid is successful, things like that. And it's like, I love the accuracy and how that we're not pulling the punches and we can't really see him like a good guy because all of his homies is doing what Vikings do. You know what I'm saying? They are taking anybody who's not useful, putting them in a particular area, and then taking all of the women of a suitable age and doing horrendous things. Obviously, raping, pillaging the whole town, things like that. And then they're stripping kids away from their moms, all this other stuff, like just beating on old folks, things like that. And they get them all into one big banquet hall thing, and then they burn that bitch to the ground with all those people in it. And it's crazy, and it's so messed up. But hey, that's like, that is how it was. That is the life and risk that you take when you were living in that area when the Vikings were highly active. I mean, they were actively combating countries on their own, and they clearly had the upper hand when it comes to naval combat and then catching niggas off guard by hitting guerrilla warfare, sporadic raids all over coasts and things like that. So it's it was messed up. It was messed up. But that's just how it goes. That's how it goes. But what's interesting is that they were all celebrating later on in the night, and he's drinking and things like that. And then he's like, doesn't start feeling very good, and so he goes outside, and then he starts wandering over towards the place where everyone was burned alive inside, and the door is wide open, and the smoke's rolling inside. And boy, this shit is crazy. If I would have saw that, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going in there. But obviously he goes in there because he's a fucking badass. And there is a witch in there. And she's got this whole crazy headdress on. You can't see her eyes. She's all white and she's got black stripes going. It's wild shit. But then she starts speaking to him. And obviously she sounds all crazy and stuff like that about how his destiny is going to be this. And how he shouldn't forget the oath and that which he promised in his original coming of age ceremony, and how he is bonded and tied to that fate, and how the weavers have already woven it. And bro, this shit is going crazy. I was like, whoa. And then obviously that stokes the flame and reminds him of what the hell the motherfucking real deal is, what his real mission is. Because I guess for a time he had not forgotten about it, but it wasn't a priority for him at the time. I guess he was waiting on something or waiting on a sign or the right time, and clearly this is the time. So he immediately goes out of his way to interrogate some people that they had captured during all that, and it leads him to find out that Fjolnir is actually on the run, kind of, sort of. Like, he had his kingdom, but then the king of Norway came in and said, fuck that, this is my shit. And so it kind of seems like Fjolnir is off kind of in a different area now compared to where their kingdom used to be. And they have a drastically smaller number of villagers and things like that. It can't be more than a couple hundred people at max. At max. Honestly, it seems like there's about 100 people. All right. And they go there, he's kind of teamed up with this other chick because he immediately starts laying out these plans where he cuts his hair and he brands himself as a slave also, and he infiltrates the group of slaves that they captured, and then they've been sold to Fjolnir and his people, right? And this one chick spots him out right off the jump, and that's Olga. Shout out to Olga because she ends up becoming the main chick, obviously, and she's great, honestly. She's great because she's the only one that's really trying to help this nigga. But honestly, she's really just trying to help herself at first because she's like, oh, you got the strength and I got the cunning. You know what I'm saying? We can make something work. What are you actually looking for? Why are you trying to be a slave? So she's more intrigued by him than anything, but obviously she's not in a very good circumstance herself, looking how she looks and being in the situation she is. But she's very clever of how she gets out of things and things like that later on down the line. But once they get to Fjolnir, homie's gotta prove his worth, so he's doing things like he saves the young master in this one sporting event that they have where they congregate, I guess, with other clans and things like that. And he ends up saving the young master who got fucked up one good time, which is actually wonderful because it's weird. It's weird because once they came and found Fjolnir, obviously his mother, Fjolnir's wife now, and they've got two kids, one older one and then one younger one, who's probably about his age when all the stuff took place. And then the older one is probably like 16, 17. He seems like he's like 24, 25, something like that. So, and they seem like they're just having a hunky-dory life out here for the most part. I mean, they have a much smaller village, but they seem happy and things like that. They got livestock, they got all this other stuff, and Fjolnir's out here actually trying to teach his youngest like proper lessons and things like that. His older one's a schmuck and has a very high opinion of himself and is out here getting fucking decimated in training, even though he thinks he's just a fucking all that in a bag of chips. But then he immediately goes to mock the people who was training with him and all that, and bully people basically. So he's a schmuck, but he's really of no consequence. And then the youngest one, it's just, my God, sense of entitlement, talking about why should we have to help build this temple? We got all these slaves. Why not make the slaves do it? And Fjolnir actually drops some bars on him. He's like, well, from year to year at Yuletide, you don't know whether you're going to be the master or the slave. So it's always the best decision to prepare for both. And then it's also good to make sure that you let your slaves know that you're stronger than them and can do whatever they can do. I was like, well, I guess that's actually some knowledge in a messed up way, but it's like, yeah, you should prepare for anything, especially given the type of time and place in which they live, and then the dangers that come along with that. Like, it's not sweet out here. This is the Viking era, and niggas could roll up, kings could roll up, and kick your shit in and take what you got. So you got to be very careful. You can lose all your privilege just like that. M.O.T.Y knows that better than anybody. Got all his shit stolen from him. But he seems convinced that his mother has been taken against her will, and so he decides that he's going to lay out a whole scenario with the help of Olga, who she kind of proclaims herself to be a seer of sorts, but not so much. It seems like she kind of uses that to her advantage a little bit, and maybe she's tapped in a bit, but she's nothing like how the lady in the burning house was, because that lady cut that whole promo. She's talking all weird and things like that, and then all of a sudden she pushes him, he falls down, and she's gone. So we don't even know if she was there or not. That could literally be a messenger from on high, all right, or one of the three. Like, we don't know, but she seems like she's tapped in a bit. But now M.O.T.Y ends up teaming up with her because she's got extensive knowledge of herbs and plants and things like that, and she's the one that's gathering food and things like that for Fjolnir and his family, and I guess to feed the village and things like that, and all the slaves. And so she's gathered mushrooms and all types of herbs and things like that. So they kind of start enacting a plan to basically torture this nigga Fjolnir and his family and everyone who lives there. Because the first night, this dude, M.O.T.Y, takes a fucking berserker mushroom, and in the dead of the night, he sneaks up and he mutilates a couple of the friends that are of the older son. I think his name was Thorir or something like that. Yeah, so he literally tears these niggas apart, dog, because like the next morning, everyone comes outside and they see the body parts all mixed match pinned to the wall of a cabin out there. And obviously it's M.O.T.Y that's done it, but now everyone's becoming all fearful and suspicious because they're not sure what's going on. They're trying to figure out, is it something, are their gods displeased, things like that? Do they need to make a sacrifice? Like, what's going on? The young master's pissed, and he's going out here slapping the slaves, knocking them down, and his father telling him to get a hold of himself and things like that. And he swears that he's going to make whoever did this pay. Obviously, he's not going to get a chance to do that. But and that they'll stop there because then the next night, I don't see him. This is the one where I'm like, what the fuck? How did he do this? All right, how did he do this? Because they decided, right, to do a sacrifice to try and please the gods and make sure that no more wrath would befall upon them, thinking that it would help. And then this nigga, this nigga goes out here and he starts howling and things like that in conjunction with foxes and wolves and stuff like that. And for some reason, it whips up a frenzy, and all of the hounds and regular dogs in the village start turning on their masters. Literally, Fjolnir's dog like turns against him and starts coming at him, and he has to stab it to death. Like, it's really crazy. Like, just the stuff that he starts doing to these people. Like, part of it you could chalk it up to, okay, they got mushrooms and things like that. Because another night they poison like the food with mushrooms and things like that, and people are tripping out, and people start stabbing themselves to death and things like that. It's crazy as shit. So I don't know what kind of mushrooms they taking, but that shit is way too strong and way too powerful, and you niggas fucked up. Okay, that's all I can say. But like I said, the things that Amleth, the lengths that he is willing to go through to enact his revenge, it's like I have to give it a level of respect, because the nigga took everything from you. So when the payback comes, it's not as simple as, oh, I just gotta kill him and that's gonna be the end of it. Plus, on the other end of this, you've already been told by the witch in the first place that you gotta get this weapon, which he is actually able to do from the original dude who did the ceremony thing with him, and Defoe has been killed and things like that because Fjolnir never liked him in the first place. He cut out his tongue and took his eyes and, I guess, decapitated him also. So he's long been dead and things like that. But that guy kind of uses him to channel voices from the beyond. Like, it gets crazy, dog. It gets pretty wild. But I just love how they really blend the mysticism with the story as a whole, and how it definitely drives the plot forward. But at the same time, you almost get to certain points where you forget that, oh wait, it is kind of supposed to, like, this is what's going to happen, because it's hard to understand some of those bits, because obviously they're talking in that certain language and things like that, and they're bouncing back to Old Norse and all that. But if you pay attention, you'll realize exactly what's taking place and how the story's going to play out, right? But like I said, he went and picks up his new weapon, you know what I'm saying, per the instructions of the dude, because he tells him exactly where to go and find it and things like that. And he has this crazy battle with this old king in this Viking ship tomb that they have out in one of the fields out there. And then by the end, actually, the battle never happened, even though it was a knockdown, drag out fight. And this nigga was like battling this like pseudo giant king dude who was like 10 foot tall, but the battle never happened. He never moved in the first place, and he takes the weapon. So all types of mystical stuff is going on. But like I said, he can't draw the weapon until it is time. And he speaks about the weapon as if he needs to feed it, and that it's the night blade. And when the night blade feeds, it can only be quenched by human blood. Like, it's like a cursed blade, dog. Like, you can't use it when you want to use it to a degree. So he decides he's got to, drag out his revenge slower. Like I said, he takes steps. He whips the dogs into a frenzy. He poisons the food. He massacres the young master's friends. Like, that shit was crazy, dog. I'm not gonna lie. That was jarring. Okay. But, like, he goes to all these lengths, and then it gets to a point where he's just like, he's whipped them up into such a frenzy, and they're so afraid, because then he finally confronts the mother, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to get y'all out of here. Y'all ready to go? And she finally breaks down the truth to this nigga, that the whole lie that he's told himself and that he created for himself is literally just that. A lie that he made of his own creation, because there was never any love between his mother and her father. And in fact, she reveals how she was a slave to her father. And then I guess at some point over time, he made her into his queen and things like that. And how he wasn't even wanted, dog. Like, she did not want this nigga. He was forced upon her by the king. So that shows you the type of dynamic that she really and truly feels with her son, and explains exactly why she was ready to haul off and smack the fuck out of him in the first scene. And it's really sad, but like some people, when they get put through that much trauma, they can't see past that, and then any fruit from that tree is considered bad to them. Like, there's no good that can come of it, and they have to try to just destroy it by any means necessary. Because she literally admits to this nigga that she gave her blessing for his uncle to try and kill him too. She gave the order. She gave the order to kill his father and him. That was her request. That's what she wanted. And this bitch is fucking crazy. Shout out to Nicole Kidman. And I apologize for how I'm saying these things, right? Because, like, you're not a bitch. But this mother in this motherfucking movie is a bitch, man. Okay? How can you do that to your son? Your firstborn son? Like, when you saw that little boy back then, did you really think that he was the problem? Okay, I understand blaming the king. The king had his faults, and I can understand how you may never come to love that nigga. But you could run away, you could do all types of things, you could break apart, start your own kingdom with the uncle, but okay, you haul off and you kill the king, but to try and go through and kill M.O.T.Y, it's like, but if you don't, then there's always that successor out there that has the rightful birthright to assume the role as the king. So obviously it makes sense for why Fielder would want to kill the little boy anyway, but it just hurts this nigga that much more. And you basically see this dude's world breaking right before his very eyes. That to come to the realization that his mother was the real one who put all of this into motion and sold them out, and it makes sense as to why they knew exactly where they were going to be after the whole Spirit Quest coming of age ceremony he had, and how they got the jump on him so easy, and all the things were coming into place. But then he's like, well, why were you screaming whenever you were being dragged away? I saw you, like, when I was making my escape, because Fjolnir had her over his shoulder, and she said that she was laughing, and that just sums it all up right there. And she's like, you can go ahead and kill me right now, but it won't solve anything, or you could take me. It just shows you how fucked up she is, and how she literally has no. You could say how she's got standards, because the reason why she broke away is because Fjolnir actually loved her, but at the same time, you are so willing to do anything for your own survival that you say that if this nigga was to come in here and kill Fjolnir, that you would roll with him and be his wife and his queen. And she starts kissing on this man. It's like, so it gets crazy, dog. But he obviously breaks away from that, and he can't go through anything. He doesn't kill her or nothing. And obviously the secret's exposed, and he has to get away at that point, because she's obviously going to tell Fjolnir all that. She starts laughing hysterically, dog. So it just shows you how fucking Looney Tunes that bitch is. Shout out to Nicole Kidman, because she played the fuck out of that. But that is just crazy to me. That is crazy. How you could go fall so far to do that to your own son. Your own flesh and blood. You have such hate and disdain for the king that you would go that far to inflict pain on your son. Crazy, crazy. While you out here and start a whole second life, and this nigga has been training and slaving away, who knows how much he had to go through to get to where he was. all in the hopes that he could rectify that wrong and fulfill the duty that was placed on him so long ago. Just when you've been placed with that type of familial honor that you're supposed to uphold, no matter what the cost, even at the expense of your own life perhaps, that you will dedicate your life to just right this wrong, and then come to find out that everything you knew was a lie in the first place, and now those words are starting to come into play. You'll have to choose between kindness of your kin and hatred for your enemies. So he leaves, but before he does that, he, in a fit of rage, he goes off and he kills the older boy, and he takes his heart. And it's wild because he escapes or whatever and things like that, and then they're devastated because they were like, oh, what's going on? And then the mom exposes exactly what's been going on. There's still some questions in Fjolnir's mind as to what's going on, because he's like, oh, this has to be the gods, because there's no way we absolutely killed that boy back in the day. So this is one problem I got with Fjolnir. It's like, get on the boat, my nigga. Get on the boat. You never saw the body. You got to be gung-ho, ready to know that some shit is going down, son. You just lost your oldest heir, and now all you got is this young little boy. You better be careful, because your lineage could be gone like that. And clearly a nigga is out here, and he is giving y'all the business right now. Okay? But then they're interrogating the rest of the slaves, because they realize that obviously he had to have some type of help. And then they just start killing them at random. Doesn't matter which ones they are. So M.O.T.Y comes back, and he basically 1v the whole army of, and it's not like an army, but it's quite a few dudes that come after him. He challenges all the forces that Fjolnir has at his disposal. And he does that in order for Olga to get away, things like that. And he gets absolutely beat the fuck up. I mean, he takes out a lot of people, but he also gets beat the fuck up. Alright, after a certain point. And it's just, it's sad, because like, that's his family that's doing this to him. But they pushed it to a point where it's like, I gotta come take everything from you niggas. And I don't blame him. But like I said, he actually allows Olga a chance to get away and things like that to prevent what was about to happen, which was not good for her. But so he goes and he starts getting tortured and things like that. And bruh, this scene of him getting tortured is crazy, because it's really, you don't really see a lot. Like, you don't see him getting beat or nothing like that. You just see the aftermath of what has already taken place, because you get the close-up shot on his face. And bruh, when I say, well, number one, his eyes damn near shut, his fucking nose is fucked up, but he is just leaking like a fucking sieve from his nose and his mouth, and he is bleeding profusely. They have been wailing on him, and I mean wailing on him. And Fjolnir does give him a couple punches, but you know, he's telling them the business, telling them what it is, all this. And then they're able to actually retrieve the heart, I believe, because, you know, M.O.T.Y had it on him, things like that. He was going to use it as a bargaining chip, decided not to do that. But so they go ahead and commence with the burial of their older son. And they had left M.O.T alone for a while, literally just hanging by the rafters and things like that. And then all of a sudden, when he's all alone, ravens start coming in the room. And they literally break this nigga free from the rope that he was hanging on from the rafters. And then it seems like Odin popped up for a second. So that's why it's like, you could say, oh, it was an old rope. Oh, the rope frayed. But it's just, there's like too many parts in this where it's like, there's some divineness. It's happening. It's happening. And it's not direct interference, but it's that indirect interference where they're just putting people in certain situations and just giving a little bit of help to make things go the way they're supposed to go. And then a Valkyrie comes and picks him up and takes him to the tree. But it turns out it was just Olga, and she took him to like a healing spring and things like that, and started healing him. And it's crazy because he's not completely recovered, but he's damn near recovered. And it's really wild. But then he goes back again to catch him off guard, and he's coming for Fjolnir this time. Like, enough of the games, everything is saved, all that. We're gonna go get this nigga. And he had a chance. He had a chance to leave with Olga because, you know, they've been getting into it. You know what I'm saying? A little sexy time a couple times throughout the movie. And they really have started developing that love for each other, and they realize just how much they care for each other because each of them has come back for the other and saved the other when, like, it wasn't that deep at first, and they were kind of using each other at first, but then they realized just exactly how drawn to each other they seem to have been and how close they become through all their hardships and things like that. And she's pregnant with twins, and he even has a vision as to what these kids are going to turn out to be. And it's crazy because it goes back to a line that Defoe says way early in the film, in the ceremony, about how his journey as a king was going to be so different, and then the Maiden King, once you meet her journey is going to be something all different altogether. And I was like, what does that mean? And you think that it's Olga all the whole time, but then you kind of realize in the vision who's actually the one that's going to be the king and holding the weapon and got the gear and all that. It's going to be the little girl. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So he's going to have a little boy and a little girl. But once he realizes that, he knows that he can't leave. He knows that he has to go back and finish what he started, because he really takes a hit after his mother breaks down the truth to him as to what was going on, about how his whole perception and what reality actually was were two very different things concerning his whole life's mission. And when that happened, it really made him question, and it didn't really seem like he wanted to finish what he had started, and that he was just kind of done with it. He gained something new in the process, obviously so, but once he learned that she was pregnant like that, he knew he couldn't leave, because if that was the case, Fjolnir would hunt them to the ends of the earth, and they would never ever be saved. So he had to go and finish that mission, and it just goes back to what Defoe said, what the witch said at that particular place, about how the thread that you cannot cut, the fate that you cannot change. It's like that destiny is set in stone, whether you like it or not. You can go all the way around in a roundabout way, but you're going to end up back here. All right. And so he comes back. He's coming after Fjolnir, things like that. And he can't find him. And he comes into their house, and there's an empty room. And then all of a sudden his mother attacks him out of nowhere, and she cuts him pretty bad, like on his chest and things like that with a sword. But then he gets the jump on her, and he literally can't do anything but kill her. And she kind of like goes, like she kind of falls into it. And it clearly didn't look like he meant to do that on purpose. And she was like, right in the heart. Thank you. It was like, it's so fucked up. And then while he's sitting there like traumatized for a second, devastated, all of a sudden the little boy comes out of nowhere and hops on his back and has got a knife and is like going to town on this nigga. Like, stabs this nigga 10 to 15 times minimum, dog. Like, no joke. And then he fucking shakes him off and cuts him down in one blow. So it's like, it's unfortunate. Like, he was just calling for Fjolnir. If they weren't there, I honestly believe he would have let him go and wouldn't have tried to go after him at all. I don't think he was on that with them at that point. So it was just a wrong place, wrong time. And then once he looks down and sees what he's done for real, he realizes that he's just in the open doorway, and then like 2 doorways through, both the doors are open, and you can see down the hall, Fjolnir's just standing right there, and he's like, bro, he can't believe what he's seen. And obviously he didn't have time to do anything about it right there, so he goes in there and he picks this kid up, and then he picks up his wife by the collar and starts dragging her. He's like, I'll meet you at the gates of hell. And so they go and have this final death match up on the volcano by burning. And see, when they were kept on saying, he will meet his end by the burning lake. That's when the night blade will feed. I was like, I don't know what the fuck they mean by a burning lake. They literally mean up by a volcano and a burning lake of molten lava. Like, what the fuck? And honestly, it is, I gotta give it to him on certain things. Like I said, I don't know the accuracy of all of this, but the whole final battle where they're battling naked, but they're able to battle with weapon and shield. But I guess it's just to reduce any unfair advantage that anybody can have. So each person gets a shield, each person gets a sword, but that's it. And so they're battling stark naked, but you don't really see it because the smoke's going by and it's obviously dark and things like that. And most of the time I would have a problem with fight scenes like that, but I really don't feel like this one was a problem. It was well lit enough to where you can see it clearly. Like, you see how the battle is going, and it's a knockdown, drag out fight. Like, Fjolnir's putting in the work now. Like, he is a fucking skilled warrior. And I figured he was, because I figured he was the main one doing his thing for, Amlet's dad. But, because it seemed like he was the top warrior, and I think he even praised him as such in front of everybody and toasted to him. That's what makes that whole situation so much worse. He did give you recognition, my nigga, but besides the point, he's putting in work against Amleth, and obviously Amleth is severely hurt, dog. Like, you can see when he was coming up the mountain, he had taken off, like, I guess, an outer layer and things like that, and then you saw all the blood going all everywhere because he was lit up all over his back with stab wounds and things like that. I think he got stabbed in the neck a couple of times, and then also he's got a huge wound on his chest and things like that. So he is on the door already, and so it sucks, man. It sucks because you just know, if this nigga was at full strength that he would handle. But Fjolnir starts getting the upper hand. Like, it's just, he's got more in the tank at this point. He's fresh. He hasn't been fighting all night for days and days on end, all that. He's not wounded like that. But, they're exchanging blows. They're getting licks off on each other. But then Fjolnir gets the upper hand and starts dicing this nigga again. And, like, he takes multiple wounds on the chest. And he even hacks his arm, dog. Like, multiple times to where his arm is literally, like, it's halfway severed at that point. And I just love this scene where you can see that Amleth is just giving it everything that he's got. He's growling and grunting and literally giving it his max, son. And then there's a scene where he just kind of collapses and falls to his knees because he's giving it everything he's got, and he's like, and right. And I love how the director just sat there and let us hear that. He just focused on that and let us hear that for a fat minute. Like, we just see it. And maybe it's because it's the moment before death that it was extended like how it was. But it really just seems like Fjolnir, like, he was in this death match with his nephew. And, they're going toe-to-toe. They're going back and forth. They're giving it everything they got. But he knows that he's taking him down because he has a bit of an unfair advantage on him. As much as he hates him, especially for what he done and what he just did, that's his nephew. And I know that he could see his brother in him like that. And you could see, and I know that the king had his problems, but clearly those two had to have a good relationship at some point. And you can't blame this kid for what he's come back to do to you after all that you've done. You can't sit here and believe that you just deserve a good and happy life. No, fam. You don't deserve that. Because you stole everything that you got. And for what? Greed? Lust for power? So I just love this scene because it's like, Amleth is done, dog. Like, he's got nothing left, and he's moaning, and bruh, like, he can barely even breathe anymore at this point. So he's clearly, like, fucked up. He's leaking everywhere. And then that's when he sees that vision. And it's like he musters up that last bit of what he's got, that last bit of beast that he's got left in him. He musters that up from the motherfucking depths, and then he starts coming back. Ah! Ah! And then he goes for the last one, but he goes for the thrust. As Fjolnir goes for the swipe, and he cuts his head off. But not before Amleth gets the death stab on that nigga right through the heart. It's just crazy, bro. Crazy. Excellent final fight. Excellent final fight. I guess if I was to say there's any nitpick about the movie, I wish there was a few more combat scenes. Because there's a few, especially like that first one. That first one goes crazy hard. The last one goes stupid. Goes dumb. Like, I love how they choreographed that fight. I love how realistic the fighting is, too. And then there's some other scenes here and there where he's putting the work in. He's doing his motherfucking thing. Oh, and shout out to that scene where he intimidates the dog, because that shit was gold, son. That shit was amazing. Excellent acting, like I said. But that's the only real nitpicks I'll have with the movie, honestly, because the pacing was great. Like, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes, but it felt perfect, dog. Like, we needed that time. We needed that first section when he's young. Then you need to get a sense of who he is before the revenge starts. Then it has to play out over time, and then you get that final stretch. But then the last scene is when the light comes into his eyes at the very end, because he knows, number one, that his family is safe. He's achieved what he's got to do. And then the Valkyrie starts coming for him. And then they're finally showing it, like, for real this time. It's like they showed it before, because even though it turned out to be Olga that came and swooped him up and saved him and things like that, they showed before how the Valkyrie came to get him. But then they show it this time. And, bro, she's literally runs off the cliff and starts running off through the air to the night sky. And the gates of heaven open up, and Valhalla's waiting for him. And you know his whole family's waiting for him. All of the people he's lost, all that. It's all going to be there. And and it just shows you how good of a guy he is, too. Because right before that final death match, his mother and the youngest was down there, dead, at the bottom of the mountain, of the volcano. And he goes over and he pays respects. And it looks like he's about to break down. But he's like, you both died by the blade. So we're going to meet all together in Valhalla. And it's just like, I got to respect that. You have got to respect that. Just, I love how through and through this movie, the ideals of their culture are just ingrained. And it just sticks no matter which god the different ones are worshiping, because Fjolnir worships Freyr, and then, you know, Ethan Hawke's character, he worships Odin, and then, you know, Amleth was worshiping Fenrir for a while when he was with that other tribe and things like that, and it still seems like he kept some of that to a degree well on all the way throughout the story with some of the things he would do. It's just like that warrior mentality, wanting to die in battle, and his father echoed the same type of sentiments. He didn't want to go out like no scrub. He didn't want to go out not by the blade. It matters, and it's hella important to him, but again, bravo. I can't say enough, dog. I can't say enough. Movie of the year. Movie of the year right now, April 25th, 2022. This is the movie of the year. An instant classic. Blu-ray. No question. Multiple watches is coming. No question about it. I just can't wait to rewatch this movie, dog. Wow. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about the Northman if you've seen it. Let me know if this maybe is drawing you out. So you will go see it. I highly, highly recommend it. It has been your boy T-Rav. And I'm out. Yeah. Oh. Woo. There's too much to talk about. It's an instant classic, bro. Instant classic. When you factor in, right? Obviously, the trailers gave some things away, or you could put some pieces together. Honestly, that wasn't a super artist thing, so I'm not gonna take a bunch of credit for me calling basically the whole story, because I did. I figured that the mom was gonna be, on some greasy ass shit, fucking my uncle, and then, it was gonna go all super sideways from there. But I don't think that there's any doubt that there were still twists and turns, and then the fact that they were playing with the supernatural side of it with the Norse gods, like, how involved are they? How much of this journey is, what I'm saying? Like, how much of it is predetermined? How much of it is actually up to them? Like, a lot of that is left ambiguous, and I like that. I like that because, bro, there's parts, right? There's parts where it's like, how can you not think that some godly shit is going on, dog? Like, when he got hung, well, he was hanging after he had been beaten to a fucking pulp by his uncle and them. The fucking Ravens came in with a swarm. And then this nigga Odin was out here chilling. Obviously, no one else is seeing this. It just makes me wonder too, because like, his dad was King of Vandril, the War Raven. You know anything about Odin, you know that he is a connoisseur of both. I mean, nigga, when he literally popped up with the ravens and the fucking two on the shoulders. Like, that's how he fucking rolls. Like, was his, like, because his father obviously set him on the path because he, set him on the mission of, like, you gotta do what you gotta do for your family in case something happens and you're gonna be the next leader, so this is your responsibilities, yada, yada, yada. But it just goes so much deeper than that if this nigga was actually, like, being directed by Odin and them. Like, is he, or was he Odin for all we know? Like, it's hard, it's difficult to really pin all that down, but I just like the fact that it is left ambiguous. But there's clearly certain scenes where, yeah, they may be hallucinating and shit's going on that can be kind of explained. There's some shit that you can't explain, like when he was out there with the fox and the wolves and stuff, and they were whipping the dogs into a frenzy, and all the dogs turned on their masters in the village. Like, that's not something that you can explain. Now, everyone, like, all of a sudden getting sick and I guess seeing shit and all that, like, that can be explained. Like, they got shroomed up and got mega dosed and they didn't know what the fuck was going on. Obviously, they already got all this shit going on to where it's like, they don't know if it's vengeful spirits coming after them and then the wrath of the gods. So they're probably actually seeing, like, demons and specters and stuff. But it's just their own mind that's doing it to them. But it doesn't help when this nigga Amleth is out here going crazy and acting like a demon his goddamn self, taking berserker mushrooms and stuff and tearing niggas apart certain nights before that. So it's like, he really put the fear of God in these niggas. And I gotta respect him for it, because it's just like, you got a mission based on what happened to you like that when everything was stolen from you. How can you not choose to go after that and then go fuck all these niggas up? Like, fuck your uncle. And then, honestly, I'm saying from jump, fuck that bitch. Fuck your mama, honestly. Like, she's the only reason why you ended up having any trouble, right? Because if you wasn't so busy trying to save her, then, nigga, you would have got in and out of there and fucking tortured this nigga and then fucking murked everybody and took everything from it. Got out of there easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But in a sense, he was also tied to his destiny too, because like literally the sword wouldn't come out of the hilt until it was the proper time and things like that. So it's like there really was no way for her to escape from it. And then like the line about you're gonna have to choose between kindness for your kin and then hatred for your enemies. It's like they held true all the way. And it's crazy because like I love how he broke it down to Olga in the very end. It's like I'm not choosing, I'm choosing both. And like you don't understand that well enough until you see that very end scene where she kind of comes to him in a vision after he's been obviously, and right before he's taken to Valhalla and all that, he gets that vision. And Olga's sitting there with the kids, and she's saying how we're fine, we're all right, you can rest. Like that. Oh yeah, boy, that was giving me like shout out to my boy Zuru, but that was giving me hardcore Gladiator vibes, dog. So I was fucking with that. Man, it's an instant classic, dog. Camera shots going crazy. I knew I was in for a treat when Willem Dafoe comes out in the first fucking 5 minutes and he's slapping his fucking cock. Like, what the fuck is we in for, okay? But since this the same guy that brought us The Lighthouse, I should have known better. But shout out to Robert Eggers, because like he was really going in, especially with the scenes of like the rituals and ceremonies, and then he's putting the hand on his father, and then you see the heart, but then it morphs into the fuck. That shit was cold, nigga. That shit was cold. Then the other time, when you actually get to see the full-on tree, like, it's crazy. Crazy. But that is it for the gravy. The Northman. The Rise of the Northman. Oh, man. What a ride. Round of applause. So far, movie of the year. No question. Man. I'm watching this movie time and time again. Until it's out the theaters, I'm watching it every weekend until it's out the theaters. I'll be watching another movie also, obviously. A new one, so I can bring you guys some more movie reviews, because I want to get back to these, obviously. But I can't wait to go see it again. Blu-ray, 4K, digital, all that. But like, comment, subscribe. It's been your boy T-Rav, and I'm out.